Hello, my name is Francis Neye Akinola. I am the founder of Ark and You and Framat Limited. I have published a book titled Blooming Through Chaotic Times, and this interview is an introduction to the book.
What is the book Blooming Through Chaotic Times about?
Blooming Through Chaotic Times is a simple concept that I try to propose about how we can thrive in our complex and volatile and chaotic culture and environment. So I did introduce a simple concept that says that life is a yo-yo, that is, life goes back and forth. That means life may be going back and forth, but the yo-yo itself is moving forward. Life moves forward. And the book is a proposition about how we can thrive amidst this chaos of life's back and forth motion. I propose certain principles which would help us to tap into this positivity of life, and how individuals and societies and organizations can benefit from this positive experience by the right application of the right principle.
What does the journey back entail?
The journey back is about those discomforting moments in our lives when we are not in control. So I did introduce 7 principles in the journey back, which shows us the right attitude and the right principles to follow in order to be able to thrive and to bloom out of this chaotic environment. So I have divided the journey back into 2, which is chaos and coherence.
Can you explain the principles outlined in chaos?
I try to deal with the raw concept of when we are not in control, which I call chaos. So I introduced 3 principles which would enable us to thrive in this environment. The first one I term as life is fragile. How do we deal with the fragility of life? The second principle is stoop to conquer but look up. That means in the midst of this chaos, we should find the capability to be able to look up towards our goal and purpose in life. And the third principle is about the fact that we are all wounded, so that we have the capability at looking at ourselves as a collegial woundedness in order for us to thrive.
What are the coherence principles?
In the journey back, after we must have navigated the chaotic aspect that I previously described, we move into coherence, where things are getting shaped. So I introduced 4 aspects of coherence. So the first principle in coherence is that we must practice consistency. We must be consistent. And after that, we have to hope with courage and integrity. And the next principle after that is that we must utilize memory to bloom out of chaos. And this is not something that is very common, but without memory we cannot thrive. And the last of the coherence principle, which is the last principle of the journey back, is that we must utilize motherhood to bloom into the journey forward. Motherhood is the concept which backs us into our freedom.
Describe what you mean by journey forward.
Journey forward is the second part of the book. Remember I talked about the journey back. So after we must have thrived and journey out of the journey back, we arrive at the area of the journey forward, which means we face our liberation. We are free. And what do we do with this freedom? How do we ensure that the freedom does not slip by us into the discomforting experiences of the journey back? So this is what I introduced in the book, and I broke it down to 2 aspects: journey forward forward is divided into two aspects, which is blooming and becoming.
What principles should be practiced under blooming?
While we must have bloomed out from the journey back, I introduced 4 principles. The first principle is that we must practice gratitude. The second is that we have to sustain focus. And the third is that we have to tinker about the hedges. What I mean by that is that we have to apply creativity towards sustaining what we have built. And we cannot apply creativity if we stay in the middle of the society. We have to do what has not been done before. We have to engage in things that are not known towards striving. And the fourth is that the impact of applying creativity is that we attain to power. So what do we do with power? And now power has been greatly bastardized in our age. But power that is not utilized for service in order to sustain unity and peace is not power. So this is what I introduced in the last chapter of blooming.
What are the becoming principles about?
Becoming principle is the second aspect of the journey forward. So after we have bloomed, what is next? So the high purpose of man is to become. What do we become? And this is what I attempted to describe in the second aspect of the journey forward. We have bloomed out of chaos, out of the journey back. Now, the next thing for us is to become. So I use 3 principles here. The first one is that we have to build legacy. I describe how we can build legacy by letting go and giving out. And the next aspect of the becoming principle is a concept that I introduced, which I call Itahun. Itahun in English parlance can be regarded as matrix. How do we see ourselves as the entity of the entire being? And I hope the reader will find this aspect very interesting read. Then the last of the becoming is what I call parable for living. And parable of the living describes the whole essence of life. How do we become? How do we perpetuate what we have become? How do we sustain eternity?
Who should read the book?
I do think the book will be very important for everyone. Anyone who is looking at finding meaning out of life, who is seeking to journey out of our volatile, complex, uncertain culture, who is looking into finding purpose. Most especially, I believe the book will be very important for young people who are seeking to know how to thrive in this environment. And more so, I introduce a lot of aspects in the book: management, economic, philosophy, science, and things like that. So I do believe that anybody seeking to thrive out of the discomforting situation where they are in, this book will be a helpful guide to them.